right, we're on. Thank you so much for taking up on my offer and agreeing to do this interview with me. It means a lot to me. So basically, let me just introduce you to what we're going to be doing for the next like 30 minutes or so. Basically, I'll be giving you questions on the spot. We haven't prepared anything. I mean, of course, I did some like research on your, let's just say, on what you've been doing and everything. And I also talked to some of your friends, like we already, talked in the Telegram privately. So, anyways, okay, just to give you a quick introduction to you, I'm going to be introducing you to the audience, and then you'll take it from there, and you'll tell us more about yourself. So, Zulfiya has got 8.5 on IELTS, and I think she did this like when she was 16, and I hope you're still 16, right?
Yes, I'm still 16.
Because I read I actually, came across this post in Alicia Said Live channel like a long time ago, if I'm not mistaken. And like when Asad Beg, right, who actually like he's the first person who talked about you and your classmate. And then when he talked about you, immediately I thought about that post, whether it was you or not. Yeah. Anyways, so she's got 8.5, and I'm personally quite like amazed at how great she like writes posts because I've been like reading some posts on her channel and on her blog as well, which was actually the last project of yours from Oxiana Fellows, right?
Yes.
So we'll talk about that as well later on. Anyways, yeah, that's all, pretty much everything I know about you. How about you introduce yourself like in more detail to our audience? That would be great.
All right. So my name is Zulfiya Ktaybekova. I'm a student at Nick's Presidential School, and now I'm an 11th grader. So I'll be graduating next year. I'm a member of a program called Oxiana Fellows Incubator, and it's almost coming to an end. And this blog that I've created is as ULUGBEK previously mentioned, it's my final project. And yeah, I'm 16 years old. It's really nice to meet you all.
Okay, cool, great. It's nice to meet you as well. Okay, let's get started then. I will first ask you some questions about your IELTS preparation and how it went and how much it took you. So can you briefly talk about everything, and then if I have any further questions, I'll be asking them.
All right.
How did your preparation like go overall, and like where did you struggle, and how long it took you to come to score 8.5 and everything?
So before I started like really intensively studying for IELTS at my school, I went to a person, her name was Miss Camila, and she taught us IELTS and just preparing for this. And this was like a time when I was in 9th grade. So I was still 15 and I wasn't going to be getting my ID for a long time. So it was like, for me, it was idle preparation because I wasn't going to be 16 in a long time and I wasn't sure when I was going to take the IELTS. So back then we were just preparing like mostly listening and reading techniques. And then I went to her for maybe 2-3 months, I think, with a couple of my other classmates. And then after that, the preparation ended because she started working at my school as a different occupation. She is currently our counselor and not an IELTS trainer. And then after that, a long time, I had like a gap of IELTS preparation. I didn't prepare for a long time because I wasn't 16 yet. And then for a very short time, after I had already registered to IELTS and I got my ID and I was preparing by myself, like self-study. For a short time, a professional certified teacher came to my school. Her name is Mrs. Katrina. And
So
I
she's a
think I
native
went to,
speaker? Is she a native
I don't think
speaker?
so. She was born in the Philippines,
Oh,
but
okay.
she got her certificate from Cambridge and from IELTS, British Council. So I went to a few of
Then
her
she's a,
lessons.
I see. Then she's a trained IELTS teacher. Okay, great.
Yes. And
Uh-huh.
after that, I was just me and my own self-study. During that period, I did mostly past papers, and the part that I struggled with the most was writing. My own IELTS score in writing was 7. Uh, so I wish that's my only regret. I wish I could have gotten a bit higher on that.
I mean, I saw your posts on Telegram, and like I didn't think your writing was 7. Maybe it was because of the exam jitters, or maybe it was just because you're not like fully aware of the format or something. Like, what do you think happened that kind of like prevented you from scoring 7.5 or 8? Like, because so this
Yeah.
is the common trend. Like, every time I just look at some certificates, and when I want to interview them, even those who got 8.5, their writing score is either 7 or 7.5. What do you think the problem was in your case?
Yes. It's usually, it feels like there's some sort of wall between a 7 and going to an 8. I really understand that it's hard to break this sort of threshold. And like you said, maybe it was exam jitters. At that time, although I had been practicing for the format, I'm not sure if maybe I wasn't able to answer completely to IELTS conditions. But it's really funny because afterwards in school, in place of English class, we have IELTS class because many of my other classmates had not taken IELTS yet at that time. So I was still required to take tests in English even after I had my IELTS score.
Uh-huh.
So, and during those times in our writing examinations, I used to get 8.5 or 9, and I would ask my I would ask my teacher, Miss Katrina, oh, like what happened when I got a 7 on the actual exam, but all along it was possible for me to get higher. And then she gave me a few pointers, but there wasn't anything in particular. I think it was exam jitters.
I see. Like I went through the same thing, because
Exactly.
before I took the exam the second time, actually I took the test twice, and both times I got 7 in writing. Well, actually I got 6.5 the last time. Then I appealed, and they bumped it up to 7, which I was not expecting. I thought maybe they could bump up my speaking score. But anyways, that's not the point. But before I took the test, I had a IELTS like instructor, like you know check my essays for me, and then he would constantly give me like somewhere around 7.5 and 8.5, right? Like it never went below 7, like 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I took the test, um, I found myself, shocked seeing this
Yeah,
6.5 at first. So that's, yeah, writing is a real pain in the neck, so to speak, right?
exactly.
Okay, so just based on what you just said to us, I have a few questions. You said that you didn't know if you were actually going to take the test like this soon, at the time of preparing for IELTS, and you said that you were 15. Now I have a very like good question, I guess, which is not actually related to IELTS per se, but it's more like uh, something has to do with students. Like
Yeah,
I saw a
fire
lot
away.
of okay, I saw a lot of students preparing for IELTS at the age of 12, 14, or 13, and actually, scored. I know a girl who got 8 in her 14, and I know someone who got 7.5 at the age of 13. And like, there, basically, what I'm saying is that people, it's become kind of like a tradition for us to, start preparing for IELTS this early. And what's your take um, on that? Like, is it actually a good idea to take the test, early on because they have to do it again because basically it's gonna expire before they say, go to university. And so, is it a good thing or a bad thing? Like students taking the IELTS exam really, really soon.
Mm, I guess I wouldn't be able to say if it's completely a good thing or a bad thing because this is a lot of it, it's based on IELTS itself because IELTS is an external English testing system. It's not based in Uzbekistan. They have their own rules and regulations. And I I do get it because it expires in 2 years. Even some of my teachers told me that I was ready for it when I was 15 and that I should just like get it out of the way. But I had to wait because if I didn't take it when I was 16, then by the time that I graduated and I was actually using it for my college applications, it would have already expired. So
Uh-huh.
I really do get where all this is coming from. Personally, I haven't met a lot of people who take this IELTS before, like when they're really young. And regarding people who start studying really early for it, I don't think that's entirely necessary because as long as you study English, as long as you improve your English, then preparing for IELTS is something you can do in less than 1 year because if you already have that foundation of English knowledge, then preparing for IELTS by itself shouldn't be something like because it's still the same language, right? And then you just have to learn the format of the test. So,
Okay, good, good. Really, really good answer. Because I'm kind of mind blown by how early some people just, start preparing for IELTS. And
mm,
well, in a way, you think it's a good thing because they're studying. But if you really think about it, uh, they may be doing it just for the sake of making a name or something. I don't like, I can't quite wrap my head around it, to be honest. And like, that's basically the first question that I ask anyone that I want to interview. So, and also, like, it's funny you brought up the general English, right? Like, just studying English. The problem with
yeah.
um, English courses is that, like, now in Uzbekistan, from what I've seen, we have IELTS courses, but there is very little attention paid to English courses because, it's common knowledge that unless your English is good, you cannot get a good score in IELTS. But just like you said, as long as you prepare for as long as your English is good, you don't have to worry about IELTS. And in some education centers, and like I'm saying that because I've been visiting some like different language centers myself. I've been kind of like switching jobs and everything, and there are no good general English courses. And like students don't understand
Mm.
that they have to first build up their English skills before moving on to IELTS. So do you think this is the problem, like not having like credible English courses like that help you improve like four skills that are needed on IELTS and this urge to take the IELTS?
Yes, I understand. Like nowadays, everyone is taking the IELTS, right? But a few years ago, it wasn't like that. It's like somehow taking IELTS became a trend or something. But before
Yes,
that, a lot
exactly.
of people would just study English by itself. And not even IELTS. If we look at it, like there are a lot of English testing systems. Like I've heard of like B2, there's multi-level, and also Uzbekistan's own English testing systems. But no one really takes them nowadays, and everyone only cares about IELTS because it's become so famous. But
Yes.
regarding quality English courses, those, yeah, I also don't like that they have sort of decreased because nowadays you can only, like, you learn English at school, and then if you want to go to an after school preparation course, all of them are just IELTS. And it's no longer just general English anymore. It's just IELTS or another type of Cambridge English test.
Yeah, when we like tell students that they need to work on their general English, the first thing that comes to their mind is grammar, like, as if grammar is the only thing that general English
Yeah.
courses teach. So I think this is also a problem. Yeah, good thinking. Great. Now, also speaking of English, while we're on the subject of English, I just wanted to know your level of English before you started your preparation, IELTS preparation. What was your like approximate level of English, like when you were 15, like when you just first got started with it?
Well, I'm not sure exactly when I was 15, but when I entered the presidential school during their English test, we were given, like, based on our results, we were given a ranking. I'm not sure what the name was called, but it's like, it was the B1, B2, C1, that format ranking. And during that test, I got a C2. This was back in 2019.
Wow. Uh-huh, I see. Well, it was by Cambridge, right?
Yes,
Uh-huh. Okay,
it
yeah.
was their English test.
I see. Well, C2 then like uh that kind of clears out everything because you know like your general English was already good, and that's why like no wonder your teacher said that you were already ready to take the IELTS exam when you were 15. So just to let our audience know, this is the biggest takeaway, everybody. Like, before she even got started with IELTS, like a long time before she got started, her level of English like was C2, right? Somewhere around C2. Maybe, of course, it wasn't like entirely C2, right? Or was
Yeah,
it?
we didn't have writing, for example, at that time, a writing examination or speaking one, as a matter of fact.
Okay, good. So, when I teach students, because I'm a teacher, I have to just sort of like brainwash them into believing that general English is the key, right? So, guys, like just yeah, note this down or something. The biggest, contributing factor to IELTS success is this general English. Like, don't worry about it. And again, general English doesn't necessarily mean, or it doesn't just mean grammar, right? It's also like it entails like all four skills. Okay, great, great. Now, I know that your speaking is 8 because I saw like in your channel. So it's 8 now,
Yes.
like okay. Now just by speaking to you, like I'm getting this native speaker level vibe to it, like because I can feel that, and I think everybody's feeling that as well. Um, okay. Now, can you tell us about your success, like with IELTS speaking? Well, not just IELTS speaking, by the way, because everybody knows that. um, IELTS speaking is not just like being good at talking for 2 minutes and then stopping, right? Because from what I've seen, IELTS speaking is not a real reflection of life. Like when you, for example, go abroad, they don't like listen to you for a full minute until you finish talking. There's always interruption and everything. So basically, what I'm saying is, how did you improve your speaking? Like, can you walk us through your method to improving your speaking?
Well, in IELTS speaking, there's like a certain format that does go along with it. Like you said, in real life, although you don't speak for 2 minutes straight or like have 1 minute to think about what you're going to speak, IELTS has their own criteria for that. And this isn't my own advice. This is the advice that I got from that IELTS teacher that I was talking about from my school, Miss Katrina. She said that in part one, also like the length, not just part one, all of the parts, the length of your answer really matters. Like in part one, you should be talking from your own point of view. It should be like I sentences. From your point of view of your opinions, just generally what you think, and they should be around 3-4 sentences long, about 15-20 seconds long. And then in part two, you guys know how long it should be, 2 minutes. You get 1 minute to think. And then in part three, your answers, they should no longer be like from your point of view. It should be much more generalized, and you need to think from the point of the view of the majority of people. And these answers are generally 40 to 45 seconds long.
Oh,
So
okay,
learning
great.
that, yeah.
Do you have anything else to say?
Uh, no, not really, because as long as I've heard of a lot of people, they think this is one thing. A lot of people think that if they make their grammar very like varied and include a lot of different types of grammar sentences, it will get them a higher score. That is true. There is a clinic called Grammar, and it does look at your how wide of a range of grammatical resources you can use. But if you, during your speaking exam, if you're thinking, oh no, now I have to use present perfect or I have to use past simple, that is really going to be horrible. You shouldn't be thinking about, okay, now this is the type of tense I'm going to use. English, you should have already practiced to the point that using the correct tense with the correct grammar comes naturally. So don't think about like, oh, I have to include 5 different types of tenses. That's probably just going to distract you more than it's going to remind you to get a higher score.
Wow, yeah, exactly. That's totally true. Um, okay. Um, we got some advice on IELTS speaking. Well, how about skills? Because it's not just about knowing what to do, right? It's also about like having this preliminary knowledge of speaking. I mean, your speaking is quite fluent now, and also like quite like amazed at your pronunciation. It's almost flawless. Like, can you tell us about that a little? Like, how did you come to speak like this? Not necessarily IELTS speaking, but just overall speaking.
Well, and this is going to sound horribly cliche, but I learned a lot of the English that I know now from books, like reading, not like textbooks. Because
Fiction books, you mean?
like, yeah, just read whatever you want. as long as you're reading what you're interested in, that's why I have a good vocabulary, I guess. That's why I've learned about these different types of styles because I used to read a lot. And books, I feel like a lot of people hear this over and over again. But, and of course, after reading one book or after reading 2 or 3 books, it's not going to get improved immediately. You're going to have to be reading consistently. And that's why a lot of people don't really like to believe in it. Because, of course, there are people who maybe they don't enjoy reading books, and that's perfectly understandable. But for me, that's the method that worked the best.
Okay, got it. So reading books really helps you with your um, vocabulary, and I think it also helps to become natural, right? Because I also started reading
Yeah.
books and like fiction books. They have like this like how to say like spoken vibe to it, right? Um,
Oh.
where you feel like it's a conversation, and just like interviews, right? You watch interviews and they're pretty much the same, but the vocabulary is much richer. All right, good. How about your pronunciation though? Because I don't think like just by reading books you can like
Oh,
improve your pronunciation to this, point.
pronunciation, for me, it wasn't too much of a problem because while growing up, I that's just the way I learned. I actually speak in American English
I can see
rather
that
than
like
British English. Yeah,
it's really like close.
like this isn't a secret, but I have lived abroad before. This is probably this is definitely one of the reasons why I have good pronunciation. But I don't want it to seem like if you're not a native speaker, you can't get a high IELTS score because that's entirely untrue.
Yeah, I get it. Like,
I have lived.
you know, huh? Keep going.
Hmm? Sorry.
No, 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 you keep going.
Oh, all right. So when I was younger, I moved to the US and I came back around. It's been over 4 years now that I've come back to Uzbekistan.
Okay. Yeah, I see. Well, you see, I can relate to that in some. I mean, I haven't lived abroad, but I see a lot of people like have this misconception that if someone lived abroad, no wonder they get like such an amazing score, right? Like they have this uh, yeah, like wrong thinking. Because I know some people who got nine in speaking, even though they never ever like lived abroad. Uh, they just expose themselves to the language. And yeah, in your case, like because you were already like exposed to spoken language, early on living abroad, it's kind of like a substitute for what we listen to these days. A
Yeah.
non-native speaker would have to listen a lot to be able to acquire this pronunciation. Um, but because like once, I guess like what I'm thinking, just to draw some conclusion from your points and to like make it clearer to our audience, she like because she like was already surrounded with English. She didn't have to like practice English like intentionally, I'm guessing, right? Uh,
I suppose so, yes.
but then like she just needed to familiarize herself with the format of IELTS. So that basically means that we just need to become a native speaker and then like kind of like start familiarizing ourselves with the IELTS, right? So that's pretty much the two steps that I can think of in like just becoming close to a native speaker means exposing ourselves to the language as much as possible, like for as long as possible. You like brought up a really good point, like consistency, right? And like most students like ask me something like they ask me to help with their like they just ask like how can I improve my reading? Then I tell them read, right? Like just need to read, improve your reading. And they ask like what should I read? And I just say articles or any other thing that you're interested in. Well, not why articles because they are kind of like close to what you will get in IELTS reading. And I just tell them okay, and then I just come back and they're like my reading hasn't improved at all. And then I just ask them like how many hours a day did you spend on reading? And they say about 30 minutes. And like for how long did you do it? Like 2 weeks, right? So we're like terribly impatient, I would say, and like because like you were exposed to the language like for this long, and then like also kept working on your English, and I believe that that was the key, right?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. How about listening and reading? Like, was it enough just to like get yourself familiar with the test format, or did you also have to, do something else?
For listening, the just learning the format enough was enough for me. But there are questions like maps. The first time I did that, I was really confused because that sort of situation just never happens in real life. You're not usually going to have like a map right in front of you as a complete stranger explains the entire map to you in one sitting. So that was a bit of an unfamiliar situation for me. But after that, the from listening, that was the only one I guess that I could say I had some troubles with. And then for reading was, I would say that the one I struggled the most was matching headings. And this has been going on with me for like a long time, not even when I started IELTS. It was just my own habit of overthinking. And I think, oh, but both of these answers are correct for this choice. And the way I solved that problem was just, and I recommend this to a lot of people actually, just don't overthink it. In reading, especially, you're going to only have 1 hour and you're not going to have the time really to go back and check every single one of your answers. And I recommend that you wouldn't do that because then it sort of instills this thought that, oh, I can check it again anyway. So
And then it's
it's
gonna backfire, right?
exactly.
Uh-huh.
It's good
Well,
that it's good if you do everything well thought out the first time you read through. There's a reason why even the exam inside the exam pamphlet, it encourages you to pace yourself by making one reading passage for 20 minutes. There's a reason why those things are written down. It's so that you can focus all of your energy on this one passage, and then when you move on, you're done with it and you don't have to go back. And all of your answers are set in stone. You should be completely sure.
yeah, I understand. Like, I have the same problem with true or not given questions. I tend to overthink. And what happens is that I first choose like true, and then like other questions. I'll answer other questions as well, and just look back and I see no not given, and I just think to myself, how about I change this to not given? And it turns out that I made two mistakes. Like instead if I just had left it as it is, like true. Like there's also like role of psychology when you just think about it. Oh, like I don't have this answer. Like all my answers are just
Yes.
true, false, but there's no not given, right? Um, yeah, that's really nerve-wracking. Okay, good then. Anything else you want to like tell our audience about like IELTS? Like, what do you think they should like focus on like most of all? Then we're gonna move on to some other things if you don't mind, like SAT, like or if you're actually preparing like or like your like college decisions or something. 'Cause I'm also kind of interested in that, and so you know.
All right. So about IELTS, um, I feel like I have nothing left to say about it because all the questions you've given me are like all the things that I've been thinking are the things I should say on this interview. Really, you've given me like those target questions. I've even seen similar questions on my own blog. Just really, I have nothing else to say about IELTS.
Okay. Okay.
But
All right.
and then about SAT and college admissions, I've registered for SAT, and right now I'm beginning to start to prepare on Khan Academy. But other than that, honestly, I'm not that well experienced in SAT. It's going to be the first time I take it, so I think that actually it should be reversed. I should be asking you things.
Uh-huh. I see. Well, I'm actually not good at
Mm.
SAT though. I've kind of dabbled in SAT for some time,
Have you taken it
but
before?
no, I actually did register, but uh, I had to, like cancel it. Well, I didn't cancel, but I just gave it to a friend.
I understand.
And yeah, like I actually do like how it's possible to kind of like sell SAT seats to some other people. Well, some people have already turned it into business, but it's kind of good to be able to, like sell it or just, cancel it whenever you want to, something that's not possible with IELTS. So I like that. I like that this is about the SAT. And also, what I like about the SAT is that writing section because I've looked through some texts and what I realized is that the writing passages on SAT are so good because I've been like dealing with some writing passages on SAT. I like found myself writing better, both in terms of IELTS and just writing in general because they kind of prompt you to analyze the text, like let's just say grammar-wise and meaning-wise as well. So that really has helped me a lot. But I'm like terrible at math, so that's why I haven't been able to take the test yet. But I do have some plans to take it, but not anytime soon. I'll probably just do it for the sake of English because I also want to teach SAT and because I really liked it because IELTS is one thing and SAT is totally it's quite another because
Yes.
the texts are really good. Reading passages are like incredibly difficult, and I like challenges. Like even native speakers cannot deal with given very limited amount of time. So yeah. Also, the idea that SAT kind of like prepares you for college because it says that you need SAT for college, right? Okay, how about your college admission? So, what do you want to major in?
Uh, right now, I'm studying biology and chemistry as my further subjects, but I'm not exactly sure about like my future major because I haven't decided my future like long time career yet. When I was in ninth grade, when I graduated ninth grade, we had the choice to choose two subjects from computer science, physics, chemistry, and biology. And I really, honestly, I had trouble choosing because on one hand, I did like all of them, but I knew at this point we were expected to choose something that was connected with our future. And I chose biology and chemistry because I enjoyed them. But I do not plan to be a doctor or a school teacher. And obviously there are other choices, but whenever I tell someone that I am studying biology chemistry, they will immediately ask me, "Oh, are you going to be a doctor?" And if I say no, "Are you going to be a teacher?" And
Yeah.
it's nerve-wracking because I don't want to be limited by that. I chose, when you're in ninth grade and at our school, when you want to choose your future subjects, it shouldn't be because, oh, in the future I'm going to be a doctor, or in the future I'm going to be an engineer or a programmer. It should be of which subject you're actually passionate about, because otherwise it will be horrible. Studying AS and A levels is not a joke. If you're not actually passionate in it, just forcing yourself to study the subject is going to be torture.
Yeah, your classmate Asad, we got to know each other really well at Iprat camp, and he's got this really big book on his hands. Like before coming to the camp, he thought that he would just be all over it,
Oh my
but
gosh.
because we were swamped with projects, he never got around it. Like I can remember him feeling really sleepy all day because he had to study biology, and then also at the same time do something related to the camp. And he's also chosen your field, right? Like that biology and
Yes.
chemistry. Uh-huh. Okay, so yeah, like
I
sometimes
remember
uh-huh.
before he went to the camp, he was saying, uh, like, after the camp started, like, okay, to clarify, he had to take a week off for this camp, right? And during that camp, that time we were having exams at our school. And the
Yeah.
very next week after he came back from Ivrat camp, we had our final exams for our major subjects. So he really wanted to go to this camp, but at the same time, exams were, wow, he had to study for it. And like, he was telling me about it, but I never expected that he would actually bring his book. Wow.
Yeah. I also thought that I could do something else like while in the camp, but it never materialized like that
Exactly.
expectation. Yes. Um, okay, so I understand how daunting it can be to study in a presidential school. I also wanted to apply, but I already told you about that.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
yeah, yeah. Okay, it was really good. It was really good talking to you. And also, just to wrap things up, I wanted to ask you about Oxfam Fellows incubator. You said, like,
Yes.
what is it? Like, I am familiar with the fact that it's a college preparation program. Like, can you walk us through that a little? Is there any do they have anything planned out? Like, can anybody else uh apply for it like in the near future or something? And what is it?
Oh, definitely. So it happens once a year. It's a 6-long program starting from January, and it'll be ending around this time, so in June. And um, it is a college preparation course, but I think that a lot of people will misinterpret it, because it's not like they're going to be teaching you about Common App or things like that. They are going to be teaching you the skills that you're going to be needing for college. We've uh, we used a lot of time just doing projects, just developing ourselves before discussing colleges. And you do discuss colleges, but it's much less than how much you're going to be like working on yourself, because the main focus of this program, they just want you to challenge yourself to grow and become the type of student that colleges are going to want. And like, I know a lot of people, maybe they just want to participate in this sort of course because it's like an extracurricular, it's going to look good on your personal statement. That sort of phrase is really well known, it's well used. But if that's the only reason you want to apply to this program, I think that it would be better if you didn't, because it isn't that sort of program. And if you're going there without any goals of trying to improve yourself and actually making an effort to do something that's out of your comfort zone, you're going to be wasting your time.
All right, got it. So, what are the main perks like of this course? Like you said that they help you with projects, right? Like they give projects and everything. So, what kind of projects do they assign you to get done? And like, what what benefits have you seen like after that?
Sure. So we've done so many projects that I've honestly lost count. But in the beginning, you learn about like growth and fixed mindset, and you are required to give your own presentation on this topic in front of a crowd of people. And this is one of the first challenges. For me, I struggled because, like, sure, I'm used to giving a presentation, but usually it would be in front of my own class or classmates. And this time, that isn't what you really do. You have to give it to an audience who maybe you don't know. And that's one of the challenges. There's a lot of like social construct that comes in the way of trying to complete your stuff, because it's the things that you've been sort of avoiding. Because by the time, like, when you come into this program, they take like 10, like 9th and 10th graders mostly. I think that 11th graders can also join, but because they have their own business, most 11th graders don't choose to. And by that time, you've already realized what you're good at, what you're bad at. And looking at those, a lot of people just usually choose to avoid the things that they're bad at. And this even applied to me subconsciously. I never knew it, but I used to avoid these type of situations, like giving a presentation or giving a speech to a bunch of people that I never knew before. But then suddenly, Oksana, they just made me aware of this. Like, I have a problem with this, or I never realized it, but I was struggling with this. And just by realizing this, I was able to overcome it. Like, they never really pushed me to do anything. I was the one who pushed myself. There was one time we made an escape room activity at my school, and that was one of the most amazing ones, I think. And then for this final project, I have been writing for like a while. I love writing, but I've never really put myself out there, like saying, this is what I'm writing, this is who I am. I've never really done that before, so this is also a first time for me. And regarding benefits, like you were saying, most of the benefits are personal. I feel much more like open-minded to not challenges, but just to getting out of my comfort zone is no longer something that I need to look like a way out of. Like, if someone says, oh, let's go here, I will no longer say like, oh, how about if we do this? I'll just say, okay, let's do it. Because I know, even though, yeah, I'm out of my comfort zone, it's never a problem for me anymore. And also, it's worth mentioning that this year, There are about 20 members in our program. And for our final projects, some people are individual, some people have teamed up. And the best 5 projects, the ones, it doesn't even have to be like the most flamboyant, the most impressive. It usually marks on how creative, how impactful it has been, and how much progress you've actually made in accordance with your own goals, the goals that you made yourself. They are going to give us a recommendation letter.
Oh.
So it's really impressive. That's also like when we started these projects, when I started my blog, that wasn't like on the table yet. They never told us about it, but it is. But then after they told us about it, I was really glad that I chose to write a blog because I know it's something that I can passionately do. And it's not like, oh, I'll get it over with. This program is not really something that you can get over with because it's 6 months long. It's going to become a part of your life. So there's no point in running away from it. You might as well make it enjoyable for yourself.
Great. And what do you think like writing blogs can be like useful for? Do you think how has it helped you? Well, I think that you recently started it, but what are your expectations of it?
Regarding expectations, as in subscribers, in the beginning, I really didn't want to like focus on subscribers because I knew that would most probably just distract me from my main focus, my main goal, which was just to improve my writing, to get feedback for my writing, and also share my experiences. I went to Italy because of this agency competition recently, and I really wanted to share that experience in a way like, sure, I told the students at like and the kids at my school, but there's a lot of people who want to know more about it, and I think it would be just right for me to write about it and let them know.
Huh. Just to give us a like a little sneak peek at your posts, right? So I have like a few friends who went there, and we talked about that, right? Like Shakrazada, and I know
Yes, yes.
Jawahar, who's from Namangan, and I know
Yeah.
Marjana, like she was a student of mine back in the day. Like, yeah, like we also kind of like joked around like how the world is small, right? Like we already have like few mutual friends. Um, okay, so can you tell us a little about your experience, visiting Italy and like, on what occasions you went there and like what did you find most I don't know,
Amazing.
what did you like? Yeah, amazing.
Well, as I said, it was a competition issued by the agency, the Presidential Agency of Educational Affairs. And this applied to 9th and 10th graders who wanted this opportunity. It was organized between the Embassy of Uzbekistan in Italy and a non-governmental organization called Global Action. And basically on this trip, it was a week long. We got to visit historical sites and we learned about the culture, and we even visited an Italian like high school, and we met their students, and we one entire day just went with just talking with them and playing around and seeing how their high school life differed from our lives. The entire I forget the word for it, tematica of this trip, it's diplomacy education. So we learned a
Uh,
lot about international relations, and we visited the Uzbekistan embassy. It's really funny because, fun fact, the embassy, like if we're in Italy and then we go to the Uzbekistan embassy, then legally you're in Uzbekistan. So while in Italy, we visited Uzbekistan, which was really interesting.
Yeah, it is. Okay, great. So I'm sure you had fun there. I saw
Yes.
some videos, like Shahrazad sent them to me.
Yeah.
Like her whole trip, like she also like actively posts stuff on Instagram, like share stories. Yeah, that was great. That was great. Um, okay then. I have one last question, and then we're gonna wrap this whole up. Um, Time management. Like Asad Beg told me
Uh,
about you, and he even mentioned how strict you're with time management. Like if you
are
have
you
something
serious?
to do, right? I like you have to like get it done, right? So what's your um, technique or whatever like what do you think is the best way of managing your time? Like how do you go about your studies?
Well, something that helps me personally is planning things beforehand, because usually what happens to me is if I don't like plan what I'm going to do today, I will get sidetracked, and this happens a lot, like a task that is supposed to take only 30 or 1 hour maximum suddenly takes up 2 hours of my time, and that's really annoying. So I just I just plan beforehand. The process of planning is somewhat enjoyable because then it sort of relieves the stress that maybe like your future self is going to experience. But I heard that a lot of people, though, even if they plan, they their plans for the next day just don't seem to happen. And the tip I have for this is you should plan realistically. Like if you know something is going to take like 1 hour and 30 minutes, don't say it's going to take 1 hour, because inside that 1 hour 30 minutes you should include breaks. And by giving yourself unrealistic expectations, that's just going to lower your motivation, and it's going to lower the chances of your plan even happening. But more than just planning, what you do in a day should never be connected with the amount of motivation you wake up with in the morning. Like even on a day where you have 50% motivation, you should still be able to get the same work done as a day you have much higher motivation. Because discipline is really overrated in my opinion. In the beginning, I used to think that's how people are successful. They're really disciplined and they know what they want. But in reality, it's just making things easier for yourself so that you can accomplish them. Like, it's not shameful if you have to like plan for a really long time and then get some work done. You should just be focused on what makes it easy for you to get work done.
Such as
Like, for me, it's planning. For other people, it may be like putting all their books in one place or already putting the books they'll need later on their desk. Just try to relieve all of the friction that comes between you and your tasks. And one thing I do is I'm the type of person, if I don't want to do something, I really won't do it.
uh,
I can so the way that I've gone about this, and like whenever I study, I I never think, "Oh, I hate this subject. I really don't want to study." Most of the time, I've completely changed my mindset from how it was a few years ago. Like, it's normal to think, like, as a student, it's really typical to think, "Oh, I don't want to study." And it's true. You're not going to be wanting to study like 100% of the time. But it should come to a point that studying is somehow enjoyable for you. You should make it enjoyable for yourself. Like, if you want to listen to music, if you want to, like, do whatever you want, but it should. Oh wow, this is way more difficult than I thought it would be.
Oh, you're
That's
doing
just
great.
because I'm not sure about if my advice applies to everyone. This is what I've done, and even though I say it, and I'm sure that a lot of people will think it comes easily to me, but that's really not the case because I've achieved this over such a long time. In the beginning, I was just like everyone else who had trouble concentrating or didn't want to get these things done. But now, struggling, like making a challenge and studying despite that challenge has become somewhat enjoyable for me.
It's already become like part of your nature, right?
Yeah, I guess so. It's become completely part of my daily life. Like now, summer vacation has come, right? And even despite, like, I have preparation for college and I do have preparation for SAT, but despite that, I think that I still would have been doing something productive this summer because I'm not productive because of school. I'm productive because I want to get things done and I want to do stuff.
Uh, okay, just to recap, like, you know, you came to be such a productive person by making things easier for you, like making your like for you, planning is something that helps, and now it's already become like uh, really spontaneous, right? Like you don't have to
Yeah,
almost like think about it and like worry about like
naturally.
getting distracted by something, right? Like
Mm.
like it kind of jogged my memory about the book Atomic Habits, like less friction, right? Uh, like
I
when
love
you
that
make
book.
the task as easier as possible, to get it done, then yeah, it's definitely going to help. Okay, great, great. Thank you so much, for doing this interview. It was great having you. I learned a lot. I learned, quite a few things from you, both in terms of IELTS and um, studying. And I hope our audience has benefited from this interview as well. And I hope to, talk to you in the future again. I hope to, you know, do some other stuff, like interviews or something like that.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
really look forward to that stuff too. It's been really enjoyable this entire interview. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you too. Like I didn't even notice like, how 1 hour went by.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was so great. All right then. Have a good evening or night. So I'll see you around then. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Also,
Okay.
thank you to the audience. Goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Bye.